Well, that was different.
I like that new music.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like Crazy Clowns or something.
Have there been any other changes?
Could be.
There could be.
This is Weekly Horror, episode 292.
From
or
the
issue
Horror
1,
Guys.
whichever.
We're still the Horror Guys.
We're still the Horror Guys, yes.
Yes.
The newsletter and the podcast are now called Weekly Horror. And where can you find it?
HorrorGuys.com. Okay,
Well,
it's more
yeah,
complicated than that.
it's a lot
It
more-
can be.
No, it's simpler than that.
Okay.
It's weeklyhorror.com.
Everything is at weeklyhorror.com?
You can get there from there.
Okay.
We have, well, okay, let's just get to it then. We've got some changes going on here. Horror Bulletin Monthly, our monthly print and EPUB magazine, is now Horror Monthly. Much more simple to remember.
Okay.
The weekly newsletter that used to be Horror Bulletin is now Horror Weekly. The podcast, Horror Guys Podcast, is still the Horror Guys, but it's Horror Weekly also.
Okay.
Well, it's the Horror Weekly podcast. We are the Horror Guys, of course. And the HorrorGuys.com website is still, believe it or not, HorrorGuys.com, because domains don't change.
The source of all good things.
Now,
HorrorGuys.com.
These various names do have some other changes that go along with them. Looking back over the years, the most popular posts on the HorrorGuys.com are the short films. Don't know why.
Why would that
be?
be?
Because it is.
Yeah.
So basically, HorrorGuys.com as a website is now going to go exclusively short films and indie films. No more old Hammer movies, no more Universal movies, no more latest releases. To get the new movies, you need to be with HorrorWeekly.com. Signed up for our email list. And that gets all the new releases. You're looking confused.
Yeah. A little bit. It's all right.
Go to HorrorGuys.com and you'll get a new short film every day.
Okay.
5 a week. Go to HorrorWeekly.com and you'll get 5 full-length films plus, here's the secret, plus those short films. You go to HorrorWeekly.com and sign up for our weekly newsletter, you'll get everything. 5 full-length movies, 5 short films, 10 things a week. That's a lot of movies.
That is a lot of movies.
It's a lot of short films.
Yeah.
Oh, who's got time for all those films?
So anyway.
Oh, we do.
You can go to the websites and you can explore these options and yeah.
And the whole
It's all
thing
good.
is linked under our new monthly site, horrormonthly.com. Sounds confusing as heck, but if you're listening to the podcast and you're subscribed to the podcast, nothing's going to change. You'll still get it every week. It's just going to have more short films, basically.
Okay.
Win.
Win
More movies for you guys.
Win for everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure more details will come out when we learn to express them more coherently.
Okay.
What do we got this time around?
We got that brand new Winnie the Pooh sequel, Blood and Honey 2.
Ooh, that's got to be Oscar worthy, isn't it?
Yeah, not quite. No. And another brand new one called Out of Darkness. That was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, early man.
Caveman horror.
Yeah. And they're actually striving to get toward a cave, too. So
They are.
Yeah. And the 2013 Wolf Creek 2, the sequel to the first one. And a long-awaited sequel, 2011's The Wicker Tree. Now, if you remember back in the 70s, there was a classic with Christopher Lee called The Wicker Man.
Was this a sequel to the 1973, or was this a sequel to Nick Cage 2006?
This was a sequel to the original.
Yeah, it's got Christopher Lee in it in a cameo, so clearly the two are meant to be connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the 1988 Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Oh, my.
Yeah, which hasn't held up very well.
I don't remember it being very good, and, I'm going to stick with that one.
Yeah, and then we got some short films.
5 short films. We're getting right to it with these short films.
And they're short.
No, actually, some of these are fairly long short films.
Well, our descriptions of them are short.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's first?
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Oh, bother.
Oh, bother.
Yeah. It's hard to do that without
without
that.
snickering now.
All right, well, let's see. What do we got here? Directed by Reese Frake Waterfield. Written by him and Matt Leslie and A. Milne, who, by the way, we had to stop and look it up in the middle of the movie. He's British.
Mm-hmm.
Winnie the Pooh is British.
Yeah, he is.
I never knew that.
Okay, I always knew that.
Was the first movie did they all have British accents?
I think so.
They do now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was the same town. Yeah. Different Christopher
Well, they
Robin,
got different actors and everything. They could have
Yeah.
changed a lot.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Stars Scott Chambers, Tallulah Evans, and Ryan Oliva. Hour and 33 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free.
Spoiler free, there's a bigger budget this time around and better special effects and more of a background story. But there's a little bit too much time spent seeing Christopher struggle with his problems. He's got PTSD and he's got drama. And I kept thinking, shouldn't there be more monsters in this movie?
Shut up and get to the monsters.
Yeah, but it does have some excellent gore kills and a good payoff once things do get going.
Once things finally get going.
Yeah.
It's a slow starter.
It does take a while. Yeah. And
So-
a different guy playing Christopher Robin this time around. And
Yeah.
he's deeply traumatized. And boy, they go into that a lot. He struggles.
Overall, I liked it.
Overall, yeah.
I liked the first one. I think a lot of reviewers really liked to trash that first one as a cash grab. And of course it was a cash grab.
Yeah,
It
worked.
wasn't as bad as people
They
said.
grabbed cash, yeah.
Good enough to make a sequel, I guess.
Yeah.
At least one sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this was better than the first one.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Well, it's a brand new movie, so we're not going to spoil it to death, but we'll get a little taste to you here. We're reminded about the old story about the boy and the bear, and we're told about the 100-Acre Massacre, and things haven't gone so well for Pooh or our heroes since. We see an animated intro with Christopher Robin being loaded into an ambulance. Few believed his story, and he became a pariah in town. The locals searched for Pooh and his friends, searching and burning the woods, driving the animals to new places.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the population is split. Some don't believe Christopher Robin, and some do believe there's monsters in the woods. And
Some people have seen monsters in the woods.
taken the law into their own hands, and yeah, their 100-acre wood is shrinking.
100 acres isn't that big to search for something as big as Pooh and the animals.
There were probably some surrounding forests too, but unfortunately, there's also a town nearby. You drive them out of the woods, where are they going to go?
Well, they end up reuniting with some old friends that weren't in the first film.
Uh-huh. There were more creatures in that story.
We cut to an RV with a woman trying to do a seance for the spirits of the 100-Acre Wood. Mia, Jamie, and Alice try using a Ouija board, but they don't get very far before Pooh shows up. Owl enters the scene. "Who's the abomination now?" he says, as credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Owl, he's new. He wasn't there before.
A new player has entered the game.
Christopher Robin finishes up with his therapist. His girlfriend Lexi says it's like he's trying to make her leave him. He's really annoying. He gets home and finds that the neighbors have vandalized his car. When the police find the 3 women in the burned RV, the locals go out hunting for those things. Owl reports to Pooh and Piglet, "We trusted Christopher." Owl is tired of hiding. He wants to take the fight to the humans. Something big in a locked room growls ominously behind them.
Mm-hmm.
The hunters are still out after dark. They find Piglet and blow his head off. Pooh shows up and makes short work of the hunters. Now, speaking as a Piglet fan, I was not happy with this scene.
Yeah, and then there's not a lot of Piglet anymore in the rest of the movie.
Nope.
Yeah.
Chris gets laid off from the hospital. The administration has had complaints about him. He goes home to visit his parents and little sister Bunny. Chris's therapist hypnotizes him and takes him back to the past, when he and Pooh were friends. Turns out Pooh was really never a good guy, but little Chris didn't see the evil in him. Chris remembers watching as someone kidnapped his brother Billy. Lexi calls Chris while she's babysitting Freddie, and the kid that she's babysitting is watching the first movie on TV.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Elsewhere, the police make it inside Pooh's hideout. The big door to the dungeon is wide open, and Tigger, the tiger, kills all of them.
He should have been bouncier, though.
The cop says, "Let's bounce," and he says, "That's my line." And then he kills all of them. So yeah, we got Owl and Tigger this time around.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to stop there because...
We should.
Yeah, that's a good place to
Don't
stop.
spoil it further. We do find out more of the backstory. And
Yes,
yeah.
why are these people, animal things, the way they are? It's
Mm-hmm.
not just random.
We do find out.
Okay, well, it's obviously a cash grab like the first one. I didn't hate the original Blood and Honey from just last year, so this kind of came out in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
The first movie certainly had its problems, but I liked it more than most people did.
Me too.
I'm a Pooh fan, though, so all right. Well, this one clearly had a higher budget, better creature effects, and could do a lot more this time around. But between the 30 and the 50-minute mark, there's very little going on but Chris whining and dealing with his PTSD. Entirely too much talking and angst. About the time this old man named Cavendish explains everything, it starts getting more interesting then.
It did, yeah.
This one includes a logical origin story for the creatures, their human-animal hybrid experiments. It's silly, but it fits. Pooh here looks a lot better than the previous film.
All the creatures do. They're a lot less rubbery. They're more expressive.
Yeah, I think the other one, I don't know, there was no expression in the mask at all. This one,
There's some
they do
expression.
more with it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For some reason, they decided to drop Piglet, who I liked in the first film. Owl is here, and he's not a very convincing flyer. It's a guy with wings stuck to his arms, it looks like. He's not great.
But he does fly.
But he's definitely creepy in the face. I expected more from Tigger also. More bouncing, for one thing. But maybe his effects were even less convincing and got cut. I can't picture how you could do that realistically. A bouncing tiger.
Not without CGI. Motion capture or something.
Even then, it would look kind of weird.
It would,
There's just no way to make that look real.
Yeah.
It's got some excessive kills and good gore. There was a mention on the doctor's tape that some of the animals could regenerate, so Pooh can easily return in another film. And maybe Piglet could too.
They all could. Yeah.
It dragged a bit, setting things up, but once it got going, it really got going. Overall, I liked it at least as much as the first film, and there are still several animal characters unaccounted for that could be in a third film.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You haven't fought the kangaroos yet. Or the rabbit.
Kanga and Roo.
There may be, I don't remember all of them. That might be all, I don't know.
That's about it. Yeah.
So what's Kevin got to say?
Oh, I already said most of it. You know, I'm with you on enjoying the first film quite a bit. And like I said, they're less rubbery this time around. The amount of time when no creatures weighed heavily on me. It was too much. Yeah.
They showed up at the beginning and then they disappeared for 40 minutes or so. And
I would say I didn't care for this one as much as the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah, not quite.
All right. Well, what is next?
Out of Darkness?
Out of Darkness. Directed by Andrew Cumming. Written by Ruth Greenberg, Andrew Cumming, and Oliver Kastman. Stars Iola Evans, Arno Luning, and Rosebud Malarkey. Oh, I really want to be named Rosebud Malarkey.
Rosebud Malarkey. That's an awesome name. Runtime's an hour and 28 minutes.
The trailer in the show notes. And I don't know where this got on my radar. I never heard about it. No trailers. Just somebody must have said it was good, so we watched it.
And it's brand new.
It is.
45,000 years ago.
It was very dark at night, and you couldn't call 911 for help.
Nope.
That captures the gist of this movie.
Yeah.
What you gonna do in the caveman days?
Yeah.
A small group of early humans fight to survive against the unknown with what limited resources they have. It's slow, but it's gripping and well made, and left us feeling a little unsatisfied with the ending.
Yeah, I felt unsatisfied.
Okay, I have kind of forgotten the ending at this point. It's been like 2 weeks.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it here.
I remember it positively, so
Okay.
it left a good impression on me.
Okay, I was kind of disappointed. Those were my word there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what happens?
Well, 45,000 years ago, we open on a group of people sitting around a campfire, chipping bones with stones, just kind of hanging out, killing the time. Heron wants Ave to tell him a story, and she tells about caves and herds to hunt. Odal, the leader, wants to tell a story. He tells them about their hunt for a very good, safe place with plenty of food and animals, and how they built a boat and went to a new land. It was supposed to be paradise, but it was cursed. The earth was barren.
I don't think this is a story. I think they just did this.
They relocated, and it didn't work out very well. And they're kind of starving and hungry, and things are not thriving. Yeah,
the grass was not greener.
Yeah. Adam and Odell argue about what's really out there, and Odell says it's not a place for happy stories. The danger of bringing the light into a dark place is that you might find out what lives in that darkness. And they don't.
That sounds like a theme.
And that's subtitles. They don't say that in English. It's what was it? Bastille, something. something based on Bastille. They kind of invented a language by mashing two languages together.
It's a made-up caveman language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is subtitled.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam insists there are no demons, but if they had stayed at the old place, they'd all be dead now. And then credits roll.
Well, that was early.
Yeah. Well, in the morning, Gear and Bela talk about being hungry with nothing to eat. And we see some mountains in the distance. Those are likely to have caves to live in and animals living around. Well, they walk all day and then camp. They find the remains of a big dead animal. Something killed it and ate it. Old Odell offers Adam advice, but Adam is very proud and won't listen. Well, Bea has her first period, and Ava explains how all that works. You have a purpose now. Well, in the heavy fog, the group almost gets split up. Odell and Gear go off hunting. Odell wants to go around in the forest, wants to go around the forest, not taking the group inside.
There's a big woods between them and the mountain, and they want to go around, but one of them wants to go through.
Yeah, and well, they all want to go around. Odell wants to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah. That night, Bea goes off into the darkness to dispose of her feminine product and hears screaming from far away. Odell follows to rape her, but is interrupted by the screaming, which is much closer now. Whatever it is, it's getting closer. And then something in the darkness grabs Heron, and Adam storms off after them until Gear begs him to stay with the group. We should stop there.
Yeah. So where did Heron go? What got him?
Yeah, something
What are they
seems
gonna
to
do
be
about it?
stalking them.
Yeah.
And all they have is their little campfire at night, and it's a whole lot of darkness out there.
Could it be the Predator?
Mm.
It could be. It's not, but it could be.
It could be, because it's not a Predator movie. But yeah.
Up to this point, it may as well have been. All right, speaking of Predators, we reviewed Wolf Creek a few weeks ago, and now we're going to do Wolf Creek 2 from 2013.
We didn't talk about our commentary for the Caveman movie.
Oh, we didn't. Okay, well, rewind.
I'll
what's it
read your
say?
commentary. Caveman horror, why not? The Tola language spoken in the origin was created for the film. It's loosely based on Basque. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did note that here. Yeah. Loosely, yeah. They threw in something else, too. There are only half a dozen or so distinctive-looking characters in the beginning, so we can tell everyone apart. Definitely captures the idea of these people having so many unknowns in their lives. I mean, everything would have been. And I thought they did a nice job capturing that.
Even the first period. I mean, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
No, it just means you can have babies now. Well, the film is slow and quiet. Actually, kind of gets slower and slower as it progresses. The ending is fine, but it adds to the whole fear of the unknown vibe that the movie has going for it. I thought the ending was a little unsatisfying.
Okay.
I was kind of disappointed where they went with it. But it does wrap up. And,
Yeah. If you haven't had enough caveman horror, here you go.
Wolf Creek 2?
Well, no.
He's not really a caveman.
Back to Wolf Creek 2 then.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Greg McLean, stars John Jarrett, the guy from the first movie, Ryan Core and Shannon Ashlin, hour and 46 minutes, trailer in the show notes. This was Tubi, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Well, part 2 was a worthy follow-up to the first, with a bit more of a budget on the special effects. The gore is very realistic with some brutal torture and deaths. There's nothing magical or supernatural here, and the horror element comes just from knowing that it's just some guy doing it. It's not real, but it certainly could be.
It could be.
And we're told in the beginning of both movies that like 100,000 people go missing in Australia every year. Most of them are never heard from again. Which is, I don't know what the number was, but it's probably a true statistic. How many of them ran into Mick out on the road?
How many of them ran into Mick? Yeah.
Well, what happens?
Well, we open on a couple of cops in the most obvious speed trap imaginable.
There's like nothing for 1,000 miles, and there's this one billboard with a car behind it.
Yeah. Well, a car finally passes, but it's going under the speed limit. They go after him anyway, because they're mean and bored. We see that it's Mick Taylor from the first film that the cops pull over. And right away we say, uh-oh. Yeah. Well, they make him get out of the car, and they find some butchered pigs in the back of the truck. Mick argued that he was under 100 kilometers per hour, but the cops decide to be bullies about it. They write him a citation, and he gives them a mean look, but he doesn't really do anything.
And we know what kind of guy Mick is. We expect him to just kill both of them right there, but he
And
doesn't. He takes the ticket, smiles, and drives
And
away.
there was a lot of tension because he had a knife, and you could see what he was thinking. Yeah. Well, as the cops drive away, he eyes the rifle in the back of his truck. The cops laugh at scaring the man in the truck until the cop driving the car's head explodes. Blam. Yeah.
Out of nowhere because it's a long-range rifle.
He's a very good shot. Mick has caught up with them, whistling away as he pours gasoline on the wrecked police car with the other severely wounded cop inside. And Mick shows them what he does to pigs.
There are several pig jokes in this opening.
Yeah, and credits roll.
What? We're just now getting to the credits?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we cut to Rutger and Katerina. Surely these are the main characters, right?
You'd think.
Yeah. They're a pair of German hitchhikers from the big city, working their way across Australia. Mick's truck stops to pick them up. And when another truck comes into sight, Mick drives off and leaves them. So the two eventually make it to the national park where they have a nice afternoon. They catch a ride with someone else who drops them off at the Wolf Creek Crater. And it is a crater.
Which was explained in the first film.
Yeah. When they're done, they have trouble getting someone to pick them up for their trip home. They end up camping at the desert, but at least they have all their stuff with them. They hear a truck outside the tent, and it's Mick, who warns them that it's illegal to camp there. But he offers them a ride. And when Rutger declines, Mick stabs him to death.
Subtle.
He's about to rape Katerina when Rutger gets back up and smacks Mick over the head. But Mick doesn't go easy on him the second time, completely decapitating Rutger.
Well, he's dead now.
Yeah. He chokes out Katerina and gets to work. And Mick takes his time dismembering and butchering Rutger as Katerina wakes up and sneaks off. So Rutger was not a main character.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, we cut to Paul, a guy driving alone in his car. He stops when he finds Katerina in the road. She's hysterical, but he helps her into the car just as Mick sees them and starts chasing. Paul soon figures out that he's gotten in the middle of a bad situation as Mick tries to run him off the road. Both cars crash, and Mick shoots Katerina.
What?
So
she wasn't a main character
she's
either.
Not a main character. They keep doing this
Who's
to us.
the main guy here?
Mick, apparently. Well, Paul manages to get his Jeep started and drives away. After he goes a while, Paul stops to unload the corpse out of the front seat of his car. He leaves her in the desert and knocks out his blood-covered broken windshield before driving off. He eventually makes it back to a road, tries to flag down a car, but no one will stop for him. A big truck eventually does stop, but Mick is the one driving.
Oh.
Wrecked his truck, but he found another one. Well, the two have quite a road chase till they try to drive through a herd of kangaroos at high speed.
Splat, splat, splat.
Yeah, things just get worse and worse for Paul until his car finally gives out and gets pushed over a cliff. Paul's airbags save him, but he's alone in the desert with no idea of where he is and only one water bottle. Mick sacrifices his big stolen truck to finish off Paul's Jeep. So now it's just the two of them, apparently on foot.
I know who I'm betting on.
Paul staggers on toward a farmhouse and passes out. Someone pulls him inside. He wakes up later and finds that someone has washed all his clothes. Jack and Lil, an old couple. They seem very nice. But Paul is still in shock and a little paranoid. And here I was, always almost expecting
They were in on it?
They were his parents or something.
Yeah.
Mixed parents, But that's not the case. Paul hears Mick yelling at the house from outside, and Jack grabs his rifle and says, "I'll see to it." Jack does run Mick off, but Jack doesn't live long after that. Neither does Lil. Paul runs out the back door, but Mick has found Jack's horse, and he's sure to catch up. Well, Mick does eventually catch up to Paul. It's a very short fight. Paul eventually wakes up tied to a chair in Mick's basement. And they sing, "Tie me kangaroo what was it? Tie Me Down Kangaroo Sport.
Tie me kangaroo down, sport. Tie me kangaroo down.
Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport, yes. Which entertains Mick enough that he makes them both drinks. And this continues drinking and singing till Paul hits on a song that Mick hates.
What was it? I don't remember the song.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's something not as common as Tie Me Kangaroo Down.
Yeah. Well, now Mick wants to play a game. Well, he'll ask trivia questions about Australia. Oh, Paul's not Australian. He's a visitor, a tourist. And for each one that Paul misses, he's going to grind off a finger. It's cordial, but tense. And Paul does answer the first few questions. He's actually really knowledgeable about Australia.
So much so that Mick gets tired of waiting for a wrong answer.
Mick is really getting frustrated because he keeps answering, and they're hard questions, too. Well, Mick gets tired of waiting for the wrong answer and removes a finger anyway.
Fair.
Yeah.
But then
Paul can't answer a question about cricket. And, cricket? That's a sport? Yeah. Well, Paul loses a second finger. Mick admits that no one really gets out of his place. Paul manages to hit Mick with a hammer, but he's not out for long enough for Paul to finish the job. Paul runs away, but he chooses a wrong tunnel. It's a dead end. Paul finds where Mick stores his women's bodies, some of whom aren't quite dead yet.
You think he actually goes down there and feeds them regularly or anything?
Maybe a little.
Huh.
Well, he might go down for other things, too.
Oh, my.
Ew, yeah. There's a lot of ew in this one. Mick releases dogs to chase Paul through the tunnels. Mick catches up naturally. Well, Paul wakes up again.
How many times is that now he's woken up?
Yeah. Well, this time he's on the street in town, holding a note that says loser. He's a bloody mess, but the police come and take him away. And we cut to text that says, despite his story about a crazed gunman, Paul was held as a suspect in several unsolved mysteries in the area. Murders. He was eventually deported and committed to an asylum in England. And then we cut to Mick walking across the desert.
Huh, didn't have to kill Paul this time.
No.
Well, the first rule of the Outback is you never stop on the road.
That's what Mick tells them.
Several people pass Paul by and the other people by because they don't stop
You don't stop.
Don't stop to help.
You don't stop in the Outback. Okay.
And of course, if you've seen the Mad Max films, you know that this is true.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
The bit with the truck chase is very reminiscent of the movie Duel from 1971, which we also reviewed just a few weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
The whole film is mostly just a one-on-one between Mick and Paul.
Once we figure out who the main character is.
Yeah. Once the distractions all die. So it really is just sort of an extended duel between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And the filmmakers knew that the best part of the first film was Mick's personality and quirky mannerisms, and that's what they kept here. The main plot is mostly different from the first film, but he is consistent, and it's very intense. If you like the first one, you'll probably like this one too.
If you like your gore.
And there hasn't been a third one yet.
Not yet.
There's been one in the works for like forever, and a TV series.
There is a TV series that we need to watch.
Which stars John Jarrett
Mick
also.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to see that one of these days.
For sure.
Yeah. Which takes us to 2011's The Wicker Tree, a sequel to The Wicker Man from 1973. Written and directed by Robin Hardy, stars Britannia Nicole, Henry Garrett, Graham McTavish, and Christopher Lee.
In a small role.
Very small.
And Robin Hardy is the guy who was responsible for The Wicker Man.
Was
back
he?
in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, same guy. Yeah.
Hour and 36
took him
minutes,
a while.
trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, like we said, it's a sequel to 1973's The Wicker Man, which Robin Hardy also directed. And the original is a classic piece of work. And this one's just kind of okay. I mean, especially comparing it to the first one.
I read a lot of reviews on IMDb from people that have seen this and saw the Nick Cage movie and had not seen the original.
Oh, okay.
Or had not seen either of the originals and saw this. And it was great. It's just the best movie ever.
Maybe
but these people hadn't necessarily seen the old ones.
We're seeing it through the lens of that old one. Yeah, because that's so good. And it's not awful, but it's a big step down from the 1973. Might have been judged differently if it was a standalone of its own.
Yeah.
Which I guess people have, or, are looking at it as the Nick Cage sequel.
Yeah, it's not exactly a reboot, but it kind of also is.
Kinda.
Yeah, I don't know if they were thinking a series here or anything, but it could be.
Yeah. Well, spoilery, what happens?
We need to see that Nick Cage version one of these days. We haven't watched that
Officially?
one yet.
Oh, I've seen it.
Oh,
I have seen it. I saw it when it came out.
what'd you think?
It was okay.
Okay in every way, huh?
I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it as good as the original.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we open in Dallas as a girl in a limousine picks up a cowboy on the side of the road. When they stop at a church, people ask for Beth Boothby's signature. She's a bit of a country music star. Beth and Steve are going to spend the next 2 years preaching the word of God to the heathens of Scotland.
Because they don't have churches.
They don't have
Scotland.
churches in Scotland, I guess. They're all heathens over there.
Well, they do end up in a hotbed of paganism.
Well,
so.
they do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we cut to Scotland, which we are told borders England. Really?
Really?
They had to tell us this. You know, this place called Scotland, full of heathens.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there somewhere near England. We don't know exactly where, but it's probably within driving distance.
Uh-huh.
Well, Sir Lachlan Morrison and his wife, Lady Delia, meet Betha and Steve, who show off their Beth and Steve,
Beth and Steve, yes. Beth.
who show off their chastity rings. They're perfect for our needs, says Sir Lachlan. It's a big performance at the church, and Beth sings for the TV. Now, she's supposed to be some kind of big country star.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But she's going to this place to be a preacher for 2 years, like somebody who's unknown.
Well, I think she's making the sacrifice for the Lord. She has heard her calling, and she is spreading the word, and this is how she's serving God. And yeah, that is going to make a huge dent on her career.
Well,
but she's going to do it because she has the faith.
Back in their room, Steve and Beth make out, but there's only so far they can go with those chastity rings. The TV plays one of Beth's old videos, Trailer Trash Love, so we see she wasn't always like this.
Well, they're both born again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The next day, Steve and Beth go door to door, spreading the word of the Lord, or more likely, getting door after door shut in their faces.
Yeah, it doesn't go very well.
Delia says they might have a lot more luck outside the city. She knows a good place in the country. Delia asks if they're saved, and she makes it sound really creepy. Beth and Steve can't deny it, though, because it's in the Bible. Meanwhile, at the nuclear power station, Sir Lachlan joins them.
Wait, go back to that part you just said, nuclear power station.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
No, I just thought that was it's such an interesting choice to throw in because, they're going to visit, they're trying to, these poor backward Scots,
The heathens, yes.
these heathens that don't know science or anything. And they've got a nuclear power plant they're working on getting active. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone in this region of this land called Scotland that we've never heard of seems to work for him. Lolly, the groom, flirts with Steve as all the townspeople watch, but she's really in love with Orlando, the policeman.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is this weird guy who trains birds. He's very weird and only talks in poetry. Steve explains religion by using his trick deck of cards, which is kind of a good trick if it's real. But it's just kind of weird that he does it.
It's a magic trick.
Yeah.
Sleight of hand.
Even when the guys at the table shuffle the cards, Steve can get them back in order the right way. Beth spends some time with Morag, Marion, and Murdoch, who talk about the magic of May Day and the rebirth of nature. They let her try on the May Queen's dress, and surprisingly, it fits, almost as if it was made for her.
Almost as if they planned ahead and made that for her. Yeah.
Lolly and Orlando have sex. Mary sings a bawdy song in the pub to Steve, who dreams about sex with Beth. In the morning, Steve rides Sir Lachlan's special horse up to the castle. On the way, he sees Lolly bathing topless in the holy pond. He gets naked and joins her.
So much for that chastity ring.
Uh-huh.
And he loses it somewhere.
While Beth is going to be the May Queen, they want Steve to be the laddie. They soon have non-imaginary sex, and she talks about following the goddess. And he still doesn't approve. Afterwards, he notices he's lost that chastity ring.
Mm-hmm.
When you've lost it, you've lost it. It don't grow back.
That's right.
My goodness, he's subtle, isn't he?
Yeah.
Lachlan makes a presentation about the nuclear power station that he wants, and Patricia and Magnus are against the idea, but Angus is on Lachlan's side. Angus and Lachlan talk about the accident 10 years ago that polluted the water table. No one in town can have babies anymore. The press still hasn't noticed. See, he gives a story about if you poison the river, everybody gets on your butt.
Mm-hmm.
But if you poison the water table, nobody knows the difference.
Nobody notices, yeah. Well, the town has like one child.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the town knows, but yeah, it's not public.
Yeah.
Beth and Steve give a cringeworthy Bible lesson to a group of the locals. Afterward, Beth accepts the title of May Queen. Steve says he wants out. After the May Day thing, he just wants to go home. And she notices his missing ring and starts listening to the Trailer Trash Love recordings.
And how long before her ring comes up missing?
Sir Lachlan tells the rules of being a laddie to Steve. And a little boy talks to Steve, and he's the only child in town, Steve notices. Lolly and Orlando have more sex as Jack listens outside. Poor Orlando ends up going to the hospital afterwards.
Yeah, that's quite
What's the
scene.
story there? They're trying to do it 7 or 8 times that night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little much for poor Orlando.
Yeah, poor guy.
Delia, or maybe they're just trying to get rid of the one cop in town.
Mm-hmm.
Delia and Sir Lachlan try to poison Beth, but the cat dies instead. Lachlan orders Beam, the servant, to take care of things. Delia and Lachlan talk about whether or not he really believes what he claims to believe. We cut to a photo of Christopher Lee above the fireplace, which then flashes back to Christopher Lee talking to young Lachlan about the poor laddie and how that usually works out. So this laddie thing is part of the games. It's the day of the hunt, and Lachlan introduces Steve as this year's laddie. Everyone is supposed to chase him through the woods with a sabotaged saddle. Meanwhile, Beam goes into Beth's room with a giant syringe, but she stabs him in the crotch with a broken wine glass and runs off.
Yeah, that was a
Ow.
very painful scene.
For him, especially.
Yeah.
Beth runs through the town looking for help or a phone and finds neither. Beam recaptures Beth and they oil her up in the kitchen. For cooking? I don't know. We'll see. Beam tells Mary that it makes the skin easier to peel. Okay.
Ew.
And they talk about replacing her eyes. Well, Steve falls off the horse, but gets back on and rides bareback, something they weren't expecting.
They were not expecting that.
Lolly warns Steve that it's a trap, but he was warned not to fall for that kind of thing and rides on. He should have listened.
It's like a trap within a trap.
Steve makes it into the castle and sits on the throne as instructed. He wins! Then when the hunters file in, they don't look happy. Sir Lachlan comes in as everyone starts to get undressed. You will give your life so that a new generation of people will be born. Yep, Lachlan wants to use Steve as their sacrifice.
Surprising no one.
No.
Yeah.
Lolly, well, it surprised Steve.
It did. Okay, yes.
Lolly hears his screams from afar and cries. She really was trying to save him. Beth wakes up in a room full of previous May Queens, all stuffed and very lifelike. She finds a way out and runs into Lolly, who tells her what happened to Steve. Beth says, I'm going to be one queen of the May that no one's going to forget. And then we cut to all the villagers on a hill with the Wicker Tree, as Beth just marches up and takes her place. Everyone is shocked that she's come up here willingly, but then she kicks Sir Lachlan into the wicker sculpture and sets it on fire with him trapped inside. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was kind of surprising.
Don't you have a song for this? She taunts the crowd. The crowd does sing, and then everyone goes home, including Beth.
They've had a sacrifice.
As she
What
runs
they
through
came
the
for.
woods, she sees that one little boy who offers to show her to the next town. He leads her on through the dark woods, and the villagers are waiting there for her. And then, later on, we cut to Molly giving birth to Steve's baby. The impotent village has been blessed. We cut to Beth in the May Queen room, dead and stuffed like the others. Okay.
Okay.
Where did they
Yeah.
get these dead bodies that they stuffed if they burn them in the fire?
That's a good question. Yeah.
They
Because
were talking about skinning her, but they wouldn't do that before the fire.
No. Or maybe they would.
Yeah. Well, best line of the
Maybe
movie.
that's the normal procedure.
Best line of the movie. She's almost severed your googly. Where'd you get that knife? Stuck in your googly.
Stuck in your googly.
The problem with making a sequel to The Wicker Man is that we already know the twist ending and the conspiracy behind it all. We essentially know what's going on here from the beginning. It's all about why and how it's going to happen this time. Much like the original, the point here is that Christians are silly and completely ignorant about how the real world works. Unlike the original, this one is almost played for laughs, except there really are people like Beth and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Lee was intended to play Sir Lachlan in this one, but due to an injury on another film, he was unable to take the part. Instead, he just appears in a brief flashback. Honestly, Christopher Lee is pretty ancient here.
I can't imagine him doing Lachlan.
I can't either. He's just too old. He's just too old and slow.
Too old at this point.
Yeah. The guy who does Lachlan does a really good job of it.
Almost 40 years older than his previous appearance. Yeah.
It wasn't terrible, but it does suffer in comparison to the first film. But taken on its own, it's not bad.
And I'd never even heard of it before.
It did get a lot of publicity.
Yeah.
Not a big success at the time.
Okay.
Unlike Killer Klowns from Outer Space, 1988, that everyone's heard of. Directed by Stephen Chiodo. Written by Charles Chiodo, Stephen Chiodo, and Edward Chiodo. I smell a pattern here.
Yeah.
Stars Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, and John Allen Nelson. It's an hour and 28 minutes trailer in the usual place. Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Spoiler-free judgment zone?
The clowns here are pretty awesome, but they're surrounded by a movie that has not held up well.
No, I was disappointed.
I don't remember if I saw this when it came out or not. I can't believe that I wouldn't have. There are a few chuckles to be had, but a lot of the humor falls flat and seems stale. Kevin remembers being delighted when he saw it in '88 when it came out, but both of us felt relieved this time when it was over.
Yeah, that exactly sums it up. Yeah.
It is a horror movie, and it's well made. It's just
I don't know, just stale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
no
maybe at the time the idea
fresh.
that it was clowns was funny, and it was
Yeah.
All right, what happens?
Well,
he says unenthusiastically.
Yeah, we stop in at the Big Top Burger as the credits roll and see the characters there. And we follow Officer Mooney as he drives around the little town on Friday night, patrolling for nefarious teens. Up at Lookout Point, all the teens, and I say that loosely. Oh my gosh, these people are so not teenagers.
The old actors playing teens.
Yeah. Well, they're all drinking and making out until the ice cream truck drives up to annoy them all. Rich and Paul, the ice cream men, are not getting lucky tonight. Mike and Debbie laugh at the two idiots and then watch as a meteorite crashes nearby. They decide to go find it. Farmer Green also sees it crash on his land and grabs his shovel. They're gonna be rich. They're gonna find them a meteor. He's talking to his dog. When they finally get there, he doesn't find a rock. He finds a circus tent. Except he can't find a way inside, but something grabs his dog. And then Green sees a big, ugly clown who smiles at him and shoots him with a ray gun.
That's not what clowns are supposed to do.
Not supposed to, no. Well, Mooney brings a couple of the college kids into the station, and it looks like he has a problem with young people in general. He's really got a bad attitude. Dave, the younger cop, is a lot more reasonable. Mike and Debbie, they find the circus tent as well, and they get inside, but it's like no circus tent they've ever seen. And there's no one else there, so they go exploring. It's a lot bigger on the inside than they expected, and it smells like candy. They watch a clown come in carrying some of the local townspeople. The aliens all look like clowns and do clowny things. Well, the clowns chase the young couple through the woods, led by their balloon animal dog. Yeah, the aliens, they blow up a balloons, and it's literally a hound dog.
Bloodhound.
Bloodhound. Yeah, balloon bloodhound. Debbie wants to go to the police, but Mike says they'll never believe them. And meanwhile, the clowns start making their way toward town. The couple do go to the police station, and the police do not, in fact, believe them. Dave wants to follow up on the story, but Mooney just laughs and laughs. Well, the clowns are finding people, shooting them with their ray guns that turn them into pink cotton candy cocoons. A group of bikers confront the clowns, and one of them gets his whole head punched off.
Pow!
Yeah. Dave and Mike go back up into the woods where the circus tent was, but now it's gone. Well, they stop at Lookout Point, and all the teens are gone. Dave releases Mike from the cuffs. He believes him now. Mooney relieves numerous calls from citizens who see malicious clowns. He thinks it's all just a prank from the Ice Cream Brothers. Well, Mike finds Rich and Paul have crashed their truck, so he enlists their help. Meanwhile, Mooney is ignoring all the phone calls until one clown comes in to face him. He cuffs it, But its arms come off, and Mooney does get what's coming to him. Dave returns to find later that his prisoners are encased in cotton candy. Dave shoots one of the clowns. That doesn't do anything at all until he shoots it in the nose.
Honk.
And it explodes. They found their weak spot. Well, Mike and the Terenzi brothers, the ice cream guys, soon encounter an entire parade of clowns, collecting cotton candy-encrusted townspeople. At home, Debbie is attacked by mutated bits of popcorn in her bathroom. And the real clowns eventually zap her into a balloon. The clown car soon gets into the chase, with the ice cream truck and a police car. It's quite an escapade. Well, Dave figures out that all the clowns are headed to the old amusement park. The clowns attack the park security guard with pies, lots of pies, made of acid that dissolves him into a giant sundae. Dave, Mike, and the ice cream brothers go into the park, and it's all alien now, but still clownish. Mike and Dave rescue Debbie just before a bunch of clowns show up to chase them. The whole alien spaceship is like a big fun house, and they run all over the place inside. Well, the trio are eventually cornered by dozens of crazy clowns until the ice cream truck breaks through the wall. And the ice cream truck has a great big giant clown head on top. So they're speaking through, and it makes it look like the big giant clown is talking. Well, the alien clowns see the big talking clown on the roof of the car, and they're very, very confused. All the clowns quietly back off when something really, really big comes down through the ceiling. It's the king clown, and he smashes the truck. Mike and Debbie run outside as the circus tent pulls up stakes and gets ready to leave Earth. Dave stays inside to shoot at the Clown King. The whole spaceship takes off just as a bunch of police cars arrive. Well, inside, Dave pops the King's nose with his pin, and everything explodes. But Dave, he escapes in a clown car.
Perfectly logical.
Yeah, the ship explodes in the air, and the clown car lands with a kabloom, and they're thinking, oh no, there's going to be a clown coming out of there. And nope, it's Dave.
This was 36 years ago.
Uh-huh.
It probably explains why the humor doesn't really hold up anymore.
Yeah.
We've seen some of
Tastes
those
change.
old comedy shows from the 40s and the 50s, and they are just not funny.
Mm-hmm.
This might be on the same edge of that, just maybe a little more recent.
Yeah, a little too slapstick.
Humor dates badly.
Yeah.
Well, most of these characters are supposed to be college students, right? Or are they high school students? I don't know.
I think they were supposed to be college, but even they look too old
They
for
weren't.
college.
We never get any explanation of why these alien invaders look and act like clowns. Not even a hint. Some sort of perception filter. Mm-hmm. No, they run around inside the place. It really is just a clown tent.
Well, I think that one time he theorized that they visited ancient humans, and that our genetic memory, the terror of these horrific aliens, is where clowns came from.
Okay.
We're as a species remembering.
Well, it all looks good, but the dialogue is just terrible. The characters are all just as stupid as they need to be for any particular situation, and the clown creatures are really well done, at least for clowns. The various clown attacks are mostly not interconnected. They're just sort of skits that all end the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered a classic, but it's one of those you'll either love or hate. A lot like the cack at the Killer Tomatoes a couple weeks ago.
Oh, this is better than that, though.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't much care for it. I was kind of eager for the ending to come and found very little of it actually funny.
This time around, I was too.
Yeah, for a very low-budget film, it was pretty well made, however. Just the clowns themselves are nearly iconic. You've seen these clowns before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now our mini short films for the week.
Shorts?
Let's start with Amy's House of Art from 2023.
Okay.
Written and directed by Carl Huber. Stars Lauren Crandall. And that's all. Just one person. 6 minutes, 32 seconds. Trailer. No, not a trailer. There's a link to watch it on YouTube for free right now. Go watch it.
You should. This was a good one.
What happens?
Well, we watch a recorded interview with a young artist who is excited to show off her work. She grows corn as a hobby. She paints as a hobby. She sculpts as a hobby. The material she uses, however.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, it's really well done. It's filmed in the style of some kind of interview show, and Amy shows off her personality and her work, getting crazier and crazier as the interview progresses. The problem is, we've kind of all met someone like Amy.
Well, not quite that crazy.
It's short, it's a whole story, and it is very funny.
Yep.
Definitely thumbs up. See how short these shorts are going to be?
They're so short.
How about Good Head from 2021?
This was the best one of the week, I thought.
Of the shorts, absolutely.
Of the shorts, yeah.
Boy, this might be the best one overall. Winnie the Pooh was pretty decent, but man, this one, I'm going to go with this one's best overall for the week.
Okay.
Written and directed by Matt Servito, stars Matt Servito, Henry Zabrowski, Addie Wayrich, and Dan Triandaflu. 27 minutes. That's a long short.
That's a long short.
And this is from 2021, so it's not brand new. But like before, you can watch this one on YouTube. There is a link to take you right there. Well, major actor Cooper Bradley, don't say that wrong, is starring in his new superhero film, Silver Streak. And he gets the call that he needs to go to a molding of his head for a scene. You know how the actors get their head molded. He and his assistant drive out to the special effects place and meet Shane, the special effects guy. He gives them a tour of his amazing prosthetics warehouse, and he also mentions he's Cooper's #1 fan, and he doesn't try to hide it. Cooper is claustrophobic, which makes getting a whole head mold really terrifying for him. But actually, that's just the beginning of Cooper's nightmare.
It's more complicated than that.
It's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
All right, well, this one is just awesome. The special effects here are absolutely nowhere near Hollywood quality or budget, but they were clearly a labor of love on someone's part, and there's a lot of special effects here.
Practical effects.
Yeah, if you want to...
Prosthetics effects.
Yeah,
Prosthetics parts.
Yeah. It's not going to fool anybody as being realistic, but it's good. All right, well, Cooper Bradley is a play on a certain MCU actor's name, but Matt Servito clearly should be playing Junior Downey Robert instead.
Yeah, he's channeling that guy.
He's got the looks and mannerism of the Iron Man actor down. I assume they thought maybe it was too on the nose, or maybe they thought we were afraid of legal problems. It doesn't matter. We know who he's supposed to be. I don't know where they filmed this, but it certainly looks cool. That whole prosthetics place, that's all real stuff.
That's got to be a real place to have a collection that size.
Yeah, the production values are outstanding. The acting is just perfect for the story. And it's incredibly funny, and overall, it's a major win.
And Milton Berle makes an appearance.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch out for Milton Berle.
For Milton Berle. Yeah.
All right. Now, this next one we wouldn't want to lose. It's Hope, 2024.
Don't lose hope.
Written and directed by Adam A. Lusordo. Stars Herman Lung Opedal. Oh my goodness, this must be Norwegian or something. Tanya Brattis and Phelan Helsega. 11 minutes, 8 seconds. Watch it on YouTube. What happens?
Well, this is a different kind of zombie movie. The apocalypse has happened, but it's not what you expect. Zombies just kind of wander around harmlessly. They're dead, but they're just wandering around. Nobody stays dead, but it doesn't matter. Well, they're actually the victims of pranking and bullying because they don't fight back. And Carl is one such zombie, watching his fellow zombies get punched, shot, stabbed. Oh, just terrible abuse. One guy even steals Carl's shoes.
Who's going to go up to a zombie and steal his shoes?
Yeah, life for Carl is pretty hopeless until he meets Hope, the zombie of his dreams. What could go wrong?
They dance.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one is really good also. There's no dialogue. Like I said, it's Norwegian or something. Just a voiceover from a Sam Elliott impersonator. He certainly sounds like Sam Elliott.
He was channeling Sam Elliott. Yeah.
The basic premise starts off pretty silly, but it builds logically to the end.
And it gets more and more horrific.
Yes, it definitely does, yeah.
The tone definitely changes.
This is Kurt. He's a zombie. He's peaceful. He smiles. He's happy.
Yeah, and here's all the funny things that are happening to him that are kind of awful, but still funny.
People just don't know when to leave well enough alone, do they?
No, they don't.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is Oh Glory, 2024. Written and directed by Joe Williams and Charlie Edwards Moss. Stars Sam Spruill, Emily Stott, Jonathan Livingstone, and Vincent Shields. 1535. Link for watching it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Well, a doctor gets a call to a remote British estate house where Sylvester has called in the specialist and his assistant to deal with his maybe insane sister. As the treatments progress, the specialist doesn't make much progress, and actually he starts getting sick himself. So this isn't going to end well, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
All right, well, I was not impressed with the story here. It's basically the doctor goes out to the countryside, deals with an insane woman, and gets insane himself. The end. But
the look of it.
Yeah, the look of this one is the main thing here.
So
the retro
good.
look,
Mm-hmm.
between the picture quality, the setting, the outfits, the faces of these people, and everything else, it looks just like a segment out of one of the old Hammer or Amicus anthologies.
That was
It is
awesome.
ripped right from the 70s.
Awesome how they did that.
Emily Stott seems to be channeling Shelley Duvall from her role in The Shining. She got the round glasses and the hair, and she definitely looks like her.
And the suspense with the ash, too, a couple times.
Did she?
Like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Smoking, and there's a long ash dangling. Not as long as, in The Shining, but I think a little bit there. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's maybe a little longer than it needs to be, but overall, I think we both liked it. It's a full story, and all the explanation we really need.
Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our last one? Sweetmeats.
Written and directed by Rebecca Mishral. Stars Zoe Wade, Jamie DeCiccio, Laura McLean, Julia Steady, and Nate Stevenson. 12 and a half minutes. And I'm going to say it right this time. You can watch this one on YouTube.
Okay.
There's a link. Well, it's a girls' sleepover night, and the four girls start talking about boys as these things often unfold. This group, however, is a little ahead of other sleepovers. A boy comes to visit, sees what they're doing inside, and nopes right over to the neighbor's house. Really, though, is that any better?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones, it just gets weirder and weirder as it goes along. It goes to places we didn't expect.
It was something. Yeah.
Yeah,
good, though.
The sleepover thing, they do their thing with the head, which it's the name of the movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's weird. But then we go to the neighbor's house and it just gets cranked up 8 or 9 notches.
Dial it up from there. Yeah.
I can't say I really understood it all, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Very
all of them
cool.
were. Yeah, all of them were worth a watch.
Yeah, there were no stinkers this week, which we just sort of watch them randomly. So we're going to have some stinkers on here eventually. All right, well, that is it for this week. Stop in and sign up for the email at weeklyhorror.com. Check out our monthly print magazine issue. The newest issue for August should be on sale this weekend sometime. That will be issue 35 of Horror Monthly at horrormonthly.com. Or if you're only interested in short films, stay tuned over at horrorguys.com. So many places. It's complicated.
All of them good.
But next week we'll have 5 more movies and 5 more shorts for you. And some of them will be good. Some of them may not be.
A lot of them will be good.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, we will.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See you.